Two Poor Bastards contains explicit content and drunken ramblings. Listener discretion is advised. You are listening to Two Poor Bastards. This is our second take segment on the movie Predator. This is Eric.
This is Kyle.
Let's get into this shit right away. So let me set you up the factuals before we get into our opinions, if you will, on the movie. So, released 86. It was directed by John McTiernan, written by Jim and John Thomas, starring the great Arnold Schwarzenegger, Carl Weathers, with Bill Dukes, Sonny Landham, Jesse Ventura, Shane Black, and Kevin Peter Hall in dual roles, no less, as the Predator and the helicopter pilot. It was made for around $17 million. It grossed $98 million in that time period, which is a giant shitload of money for its day. Let's see. The Predator monster itself was designed by Stan Winston, based off the suggestion from James Cameron. The story goes that they were doing a redesign because the first Predator monster was a pile of shit, and Jean-Claude Van Damme could not save it for anything. It was super top-heavy. They were shooting on the side of a hill no matter what they were doing, so they couldn't get...
It looked really weird.
And apparently, Jean-Claude was a whiny little bitch the whole time.
I'm not surprised.
That is the rumor on the street. He was a whiny little bitch. So Stan Winston went back to the drawing board on an airplane. James Cameron was there. They never, what I've seen this interview from Stan Winston, they never explained why they were on the same plane together. Just thought that they were. And walks past, looks at the drawing that Stan was doing and goes, you know, I've never seen a monster with mandibles before. I think that would be really cool. Stan Winston was influenced by that, and history is made by another iconic movie monster, what have you. As I said before, Jean-Claude played the original monster, but it looked like a pile of shit. Straight up. I saw stills and I'm like, it would have been the worst movie ever made.
It would have.
And forgettable if they would have went with that one.
It would have been embarrassing. Like, I saw the red suit version of it.
Yeah.
It was really
It's
bad.
bad news. So give me your feelings, your dissertation.
So Predator is a very special movie to me. I feel like it is the ultimate action movie. It is the ultimate sci-fi movie, I guess you can say, too. More towards the action than sci-fi on this. I mean, of course, we have an alien in this movie, but I feel it's more geared towards the action movie sense. I think that Predator is a movie that is timeless as far as the way that it looks. I mean, you watch the movie back in 86, there isn't much for movies that looked as good as Predator, and that still holds up today. The movie looks great today. It could have been, it looks almost as if it could have been recently made as well. So that's what I mean by, like, timeless.
Yeah.
Something you'd still be able to enjoy, you know, years into the future and not think like, oh, this movie looks completely dated. Sure, you might say that about the invisibility effect that the Predator has, but I think that effect is really cool, and I like the way that it turned out and the way that it looks, and I just think that sets it more off into, like, its greatness level.
Yeah, I agree. Number one, the invisibility effect. It doesn't take me out of the movie, and really how it was done is really quite genius. And I would think from a tech level, from like it's a light bending, it's not perfect camouflage, and it's never really meant to be.
There is no perfect camouflage.
Exactly. So I think as far as that technology goes and how it's represented on film, I think it's great. I honestly would not fuck with how it was represented at all. I would say that maybe some of the jokes or some of the characters' points of view might be a little dated. It's certainly of a 80s masculinity perspective. Comes off a certain sort of way, but as far as like, you know, the people in South America or Mexico or whatever it is, people now are using fatigues from Russia, from America, from these different places that are 30, 40 years old. So it seems completely appropriate. It's not the, you know, as you said, you know, before, you know, it's dated. The only thing, like, they're not wearing pixelated camouflage.
Yeah, the new stuff. The
new stuff. That's really the only thing that really kind of, I think, or maybe how. But then again, like how big? No, there's no technology. It's mostly like guns. That's what they have. They have fucking guns. But there isn't like telephones shown. There's not really like I think those style of helicopters, all those things
are still in use today.
Still in use. So it is a timeless. Now, granted, 100 years from now, it'll be very dated. But as far as like right now, contemporary, it seems like, other than the fact that all of those people have aged almost 30 years, it's a timeless movie. That's really the tell at this point.
Definitely 30 years.
Is it actually 30 years?
What year did it come out?
86.
What year is it now?
Fuck.
32 years.
God damn. And the thing is, like, that's the impressive. The thing about it is, like
if I think about something 32 years old, I would think of a movie that looks a lot crustier than that.
Right. It shot very well. I would say that sometimes it is of its era as far as explosions go. They really like explosions in this movie, and I think that's kind of a particular 80s.
I really like explosions in my movies.
Well,
so
yes, but the way that they're shot is definitely in 80s and the main reason why is that they're not enhanced by CGI.
Well, here's the other thing. Compare it to another movie like Commando.
Right.
It's done much better than anything in that movie.
Bill Duke and Arnold Schwarzenegger are both in that movie as well. You're right. As far as, and I don't know if because it's John McTiernan adding a certain flavor to it, but it definitely, its direction, how it stands out, it rises above the rest of like the cliche 80s action movies.
There's no action cheese in this movie. It's all very gritty and what I think is very realistic as far as like action, explosions, that kind of thing. Of course, I don't think, aliens coming here to hunt us is realistic type thing, which it may be. I don't know.
Well, and just how like absolutely flawless that they are. Like they establish in the movie that they are the most elite military force imaginable. And the fact that they are, because they've, as you discover in the movie, that they've tried to bring other people in to this scenario and they've all died. Mm-hmm. So they are the most elite squad. I don't even know where I'm going at that point.
They're an elite squad of killing machines.
Killing machines.
And this...
it's almost too perfect. Like, the first setup of the movie is that they're so perfect, so flawless, yet they have morals because they didn't take that one job because they're not assassins. They rescue people. Right? So they establish that they are the perfect military unit. And then they're hunted by the perfect predator. Other than that, because that one scene where they're in the drug cartel that's infiltrated by Russian, it's obviously there was some misdirection by Carl Weathers character in this. Like that whole scene was like the most well orchestrated. Like it's like they had 18 weeks to plan this assault on this compound, and it was so flawlessly executed. And of course, any excuse for Arnold to like flex his muscles. Like so, like when he picks up the back of that pickup
That truck, yeah.
and then puts the explosive in it, and then hurls it towards.
Almost perfect because Jesse Ventura bleeds. He gets wounded,
Oh, that's true. Even though he doesn't have time to bleed.
but it's a good thing that he didn't because they needed to finish their mission.
Indeed. So,
And then probably my favorite one-liner of the movie happens during this is when Arnold throws his knife and pins the guy to like a pillar and says, "Stick around."
I gotta say the other thing about this movie is the one-liners are like fucking
So fucking on point.
just on point of any movie. Like,
CIA got you pushing too many pencils.
and obviously we have like the cliche everyone knows to get to the chopper, but everything like it seems like most of the people
That's the weakest one-liner of the entire movie too.
in the movie certainly. In the cultural lexicon, everyone knows it obviously, but in the movie you're absolutely right. And every person seems to have their own little like verbal shtick. Like Shane Black's character is always telling these really bad jokes,
Really
and then
bad, but really good.
right, and Sonny Landham is like never getting them and never laughing because he's an unemotional, unfeeling Native American person who can track anything. It's
afraid of no man.
It's afraid of no man, and we are not being hunted by any man. So let's get into some of the other little factuals about it. So, as I said, the monster was designed by Stan Winston. Jean-Claude Van Damme played the original monster, which ended up being like just total shit show. And he cried like a little bitch, and they ultimately vacated him. And they brought him on because he had been in movies up to this point, but they brought him on because they thought that him being a martial artist would give the character like a nimble reptilian sort of ability to navigate the jungle, and it ended up not being the case at all. And so they
Running around on hills.
and they said, "Get the fuck out of here." So Arnold gets married halfway through production to Maria Shriver. So they had to like
put on pause for a sec here.
Yep. The glowing blood, which I think is interesting, was achieved by mixing personal lubricant, and this is what I read on Wikipedia, and glow stick juice, and that's my own. It's glow stick juice.
It's like, couldn't they have just used glow stick juice?
But no, because it's not viscous.
It's too viscous, maybe at that point. Too liquidy. So they had to mix it with personal lubricant. I mean, what isn't... I'm not even going to think about it.
But covering other movies and digging into them, we know that the special effects world sometimes just takes whatever's given to them and makes use of condoms and KY in ways that are not intended. So Hellraiser, obviously. So the invisibility aspect was created where someone would wear a red suit in basically the form of the Predator, and basically they chose red because it was the opposite spectrum of anything green. Then they would remove it with chroma key. Then they would repeat the shot in actually a wider aspect ratio with no actors. Then they would recombine the shots together, and that effect alone, with a chroma key correction, gave us that weird, like, sort of invisibility warping thing.
That awesome, light bending.
And it's not CGI. So let's talk about the fact that that's not a CGI effect. It's not quite a practical effect.
I think I would still consider that practical because they're having someone in a suit do it, cut that out, adding in a real shot, and then doing it that way.
So, and then what they did is combine the shots together, and it gave us that weird effect. And I think like it works really well. If
It is a very believable, like, light bending technology. Of course, it's not going to be perfect where, you'd be completely Hollow Man.
but that's not, yeah. That's not, but I think in the world of like the Predator in like the jungle setting, that's perfect. You don't need something that grants you actually invisibility. You just need something that obscures you enough to be
Optical camouflage.
exactly. So the heat vision by the Predator, that was they didn't use infrared because true infrared you wouldn't see anything. In the shooting in the jungle, where everything is the ambient heat of the actual temperature.
Yeah,
if
so
it's 100
like
degrees,
100 degrees there, and your body temperature is 98.6 degrees, just be like one giant red
exactly.
thing.
So they used Inframetrics thermo video scanner. So what that does is it gives a lot better detail from people and helicopters and things like that. There were some things that I was kind of like, so like a knife, or a gun. Sometimes they were cooler than the body temperature. The body temperature is always, the bodies are not, in a jungle, bodies are not that hot. 98.7 degrees really isn't that hot. A lizard's going to be the same thing. Scorpion's going to be
I don't know. Arnold
similar.
had a pretty hot body. Especially in the jungle, so fuck you.
Did you know that he lost 30 pounds during the filming of that movie?
Wow, that's a lot of water weight to lose.
So part of it was he actually lost some of his muscle building physique to be a more air quotation marks, believable physique.
That's crazy that they had to have him lose muscle to be more believable.
Yeah, so that was a conscious effort on Arnold's part. John McTiernan also lost the same amount of weight, but it's because he refused to eat any of the food in Mexico, fear of getting diarrhea. And so he just didn't eat very well and lost a shitload of weight.
I mean, even if you ate well, you would shit a lot and lose a lot of weight.
I knew someone that when he traveled to Mexico, he said he would just dilute his system enough to eat and be fine, which is amazing that you can like get used to that.
I have forged my stomach in the hottest fires of fast food hell that I'm sure I could eat anything and be fine.
Here's the thing. Sure, there is that aspect, but what gives you Montezuma's revenge is not greasy food. It's the fucking critters and the shit that's in it.
Okay, yeah, so don't drink the water.
True, don't drink the water.
The food is one thing, but the water may be another.
Oh, fair enough. So, overall...
Drink beer. I had a friend who had to go to work down by Tecate for like medical devices, and all he would do is drink Tecate, and he wouldn't eat when he was there. So all he would do is drink beer for food. Anyways, Predator.
I think one of the things that stands out, it's, as you said, it's timeless. The one-liners, I think, are so fucking on point in this movie. Like, it's a movie that's like very serious, like it's a gritty movie, but it still has like a twinkle in its eye. Like, it has like
there's
charm
a certain
to it.
lightheartedness to some aspects of it.
And I feel like in real life that's true. Like, I feel like, because you've heard about like morticians' humor or soldiers' humor. Like, I feel like we get an insight into that amongst that elite group of people. They have like almost this cavalier attitude to what they're doing. That's kind of lighthearted, but you also get the sense that they're very serious and very dedicated to their group.
And you saying that reminds me of something, and it's just like, and that thing is my life because I really hate it and it's awful, but yet I can be funny and have that going on for me. And that movie is much like my
been known
life.
to have humor. I've witnessed it sometimes. Indeed. And then my other thought is the soundtrack. It's especially of that time, it was really funky. And that tribal weird like tension, like it's one of those soundtracks that really adds to the movie. And what's funny about it is like, we talked about in another episode, Naked Lunch, about like how sometimes it's too jazz and it goes off the deep end, where I don't feel like Predator 2 soundtrack ever really goes off the deep end. But when you actually, if you just pay attention to it, there's a lot of crazy shit going on.
It fits perfectly, though. And it's like it adds the right level of creep factor.
Yes.
And tension to what's going on screen.
Yeah, so this is done by Alan Silvestri. He does Predator 2. So, interesting as far as series goes, besides the writers, he's the only person that's went on to do the second Predator, or another entry into the Predator franchise, if you will. So I think, that soundtrack is crazy. The direction is great. The ensemble cast, like each one representing a certain aspect of masculinity, be it the lone wolf Native American tracker who can like look off into the distance and could tell you that there was 12 men wearing size 12 and 13 boots carrying M16s with 3 grenades and 14 clips just by looking into the jungle.
So let's talk about this character.
Yes. So Sonny Landham plays Billy. He's the tracker. He's the giant Native American in this movie, and he's fucking huge. So he had a bodyguard during the filming of this movie, not to protect himself from outside forces. No, to protect everyone else from him. It's fucking crazy.
And it's like, what was going on that he needed to be stopped from hurting other people?
And he's a big motherfucker.
Yeah.
So that bodyguard had to be pretty fucking big to potentially subdue Sonny.
So my best guess would be like steroids or cocaine or both, like roid rage and then all coked up.
Or mental instability.
Or I don't know, that could be it too.
Because what I read was that he was in porn, but I don't know what else he was in. I mean, I don't know another movie he was in. And I didn't like dig that far into Sonny Landham's career other than like I know his name, and that's about as far as I got with it.
And he ain't afraid of no man.
Yeah, he ain't afraid. And the other aspect of it, and I think, part of like the endearing thing about this movie is like hearing the background shenanigans of actually filming the movie, like how Arnold would troll his castmates and how he would check the egos of other people. Like apparently Jesse Ventura was like out of control egomania because he was in wrestling at this time in the height of that, and he was a Navy SEAL, so he thought he was like the fucking bee's knees, like he was better than everybody else.
Our former governor here in
Our
Minnesota.
former governor, of course. So the story goes that Arnold would make up stories about himself amongst the crew to get back to Jesse Ventura. And so what he would say to like the crew is like that he wasn't as confident, or he would say something like to the fact that like his biceps were smaller than Jesse Ventura's, because Jesse would talk about how big his muscles were, how big and bulging, of course they were. So Arnold would purposely state a number to the crew that was smaller than his. Jesse would get wind of this and fucking get like a raging hard-on of superiority over Arnold, and then would confront Arnold in front of everyone. And then when they did a bicep comparison, of course, Arnold's were bigger than his, just to fucking put him in place.
Because it's Arnold.
Because it's Arnold. And that's what I love. And, like, it reminded me, like, about how much I love Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, what you see on screen versus the actual person. Like, I could see why he became governor. He's not a dumb guy at all. He's got a great sense of humor, and he's smart. And it kind of reminded me like a lot of the things that I had seen in Pumping Iron, where he was just fuck with everyone in that. Any of his competitors, he wouldn't. His intimidation was all mental, as opposed to like he didn't need to prove himself physically, but he would get into like Lou Ferrigno's brain and just absolutely fuck with them. And Lou Ferrigno, honestly, during that time was bigger and had a better physique. Lou Ferrigno is 6'5". He's gigantic, and typically people who are of that stature don't have that kind of physique. Like it's hard for them to maintain that kind of body form because it's
a lot of mass.
He must have been like over 300 pounds to have that mass. He played the Hulk in the Hulk series in the 70s. Like he is a gigantic man. Arnold, I think, is like 6'1", 6 foot. So he's a lot taller than me, but
shorter than me.
Shorter than you. So to have, again, genetics plays a lot into it. Steroids plays a lot into it. But just this whole philosophy, like he's always very much a mental thing. He goes into like balance and how if you become out of balance, you have to balance the rest of your body. And when he's fucking with Lou Ferrigno, just like the mental games he play, he carries that through on wrangling the set of egos. You have Carl Weathers, who comes off of Rocky. You've got Jesse Ventura, who is Navy SEAL, professional wrestler, showman. You've got Billy Landham, who is just fucking over the top, crazy person. And he's kind of imbuing that leader of the squad behind the scenes of making this movie itself, and how he's doing it is so... It's impressive because he's not beating the shit out of people. He's using humor and he's using psychological warfare to fuck with these other guys. It's great. It makes me love him more for whatever reason. Besides like...
I mean, there's tons of reasons to love Arnold, but it's just, there's more and more.
There's more and more. And then Carl Weathers did a thing where he would wake up at 3:30 in the morning, work out before everyone else, then pretend to wake up at normal time when everyone else is working out, and then be like, "You guys work out? I can't believe you work out. That's
I've got
stupid.
This natural physique.
Look at this. Look at my body." Like Carl Weathers is fucking ripped in that movie.
He is completely fucking jacked in that movie.
It's incredible. So like I would really say like the best physiques are Arnold and Carl in that movie. Like everyone else, like, yeah, they're huge, but like just like the bulging, sweaty, ridiculous like physique is between those two. Like
just like the sweat in the muscles and the bulging in that movie is off the charts.
You son of a bitch.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, everyone in that movie is about to split their skin and just blow right out.
And that's the amazing thing. It's like, it's vaguely homoerotic with how much like bulge, like the excuse to like strip down to like bare chest and just flex.
I mean, that movie is just like showcasing it all. It's a better version of the volleyball scene in Top Gun.
All day long. Yeah. That takes that. It's hard to think, like when they're building the booby trap thing, because they think that they can booby trap the predator, of course, because they think he's the land-based creature. And like doing all these booby traps, and everyone, like, so Carl's character, I don't know if he rips his sleeves off or takes his shirt off, but like everyone is like lifting really heavy things and
sweating a lot.
And sweating so much. I'm like, who is that meant for? Like, that's one of the things like I don't understand.
The 80s man.
It's so homoerotic. It's like,
but not
because like I appreciate another person's physique. If you're strong, I can recognize that you're strong.
The ultimate form of man,
I suppose. But like, there's something vaguely erotic about it as well. You know what I mean? Like I suppose it's 80s.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't see it as that.
I guess I do. We see it at different levels, I suppose.
I think you see what you want to see.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. I see it as slightly erotic. And I get this because I remember the Relax, Don't Do It video. The original video kind of reminds me of some of the scenes in Predator.
Why can't I think of anything else but Zoolander now that you said that?
Or The Wedding Singer.
Never seen that.
So there's a whole big thing in The Wedding Singer where one of the characters has like a relax. Like, hey, relax, don't do it. And, of course, the context of that song is about sex. So it's,
Relax, don't do it.
yeah, don't come.
Oh, you can do it, but you just can't come.
Yeah, relax, don't do it.
So just edge.
When you want to come. Relax, don't do it when you want to come is the lyric in that song, I believe. And if you've seen the original video, it plays out like a gay S&M fantasy, whereas the homogenized video is not the same. Typically, as things go. All right, so what else do you have to add about The Predator other than being one of the greatest timeless action sci-fi movies of all time?
I'd like to talk about Shane Black's contribution to the movie.
Boom. Thank you for that.
So, Shane Black, on the movie, he's one of the characters in the team, kind of sort of played Ghost Rider on the movie as well. And if you're up on things, he is the writer and director of the new Predator movie that will be coming out soon.
And also the writer-director of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys.
Yes, and Die Hard. I love Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I fucking love that movie.
It's a great movie. That's another episode, though. Anyways, continue.
So, yeah, on the movie, he's not credited for any type of, writing duty, but it is said that he helped quite a bit with, like, the dailies and that sort of thing.
And I will say, I guess what I want to add to that is, so the first and second Predator are written by the same brothers. You could definitely tell that there's a difference as far as writing goes between the two, and I think you could attribute that to Shane Black's banter.
I certainly feel like a lot of his humor is evident on the first movie that is certainly missing from the second one.
He has like a certain talent for back and forth banter that a lot of other writers do not have, whereas Tarantino has his kind of thing that he does, the Tarantino-ism. Shane Black has his particular, and it shows through in Predator, and I think it lacks in Predator too.
Saying that, it's certainly a style that goes forth. Like, Tarantino style. Like, Shane Black, I think, would be the only other person that I could say that would have such, a type of style like that.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that I didn't get as much of that in Iron Man 3. Because he did Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
I feel like, as far as like Marvel movies, Iron Man sequels in general go, that was probably the weakest. That's my opinion. And I felt that
was Favreau still directing the third one?
No, I think Shane Black directed,
Oh, so he
wrote and directed.
Okay.
Now, I could be wrong. I'm a little schlitzed. I'm greased. I'm feeling good about life right now. But I do believe he wrote and directed Iron Man 3, and I feel it's the least Shane Black of anything he's done.
And you know what? That's weird, because with the new Predator movie that's coming out, they're like, from the director of Iron Man 3, and it's like, really? Here's the director of all these other better movies.
Way better movies.
So why not say that? Why? I don't know.
I think, like, if you're a movie nerd, a movie buff, maybe is a better way to describe it, you recognize Shane Black as a great writer and director, but they're not huge movies. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was not a huge blockbuster.
But you know what? That's the movie that revitalized Robert Downey Jr's career.
Absolutely.
It wasn't Iron Man, because it was this movie. It was before that.
Absolutely. And I think the same thing with Val Kilmer.
Yes.
This is the first time that Val Kilmer, since Real Geniuses, did a comedic role. So Real Geniuses came out in like 1981, And what, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang came out in what, 2000 something or another?
Yeah.
So it had been at least 30 years since Val Kilmer had done a comedic role, and really like
2005.
2005, and it really showed like, hey, Val Kilmer is not a total douchebag. Like, he's kind of funny. He could be an actor, and he could be, because that's like the thing. He did Real Genius, and he did something else that were comedic. And I really like Val Kilmer in Real Geniuses.
Oh, everybody fucking loves that movie.
But he kind of turns into this douchebag in every other movie. And you kind of like...
Well, he's supposed to be one of those people who's hard to work with.
Allegedly, he's gotten better with age.
Boy,
Allegedly.
I'd love to be on fucking site with Robert Downey Jr. being himself. At that point, just coming back into the game, and Val Kilmer being a douche, and those two together.
Apparently, they got along like a house fire. Like, they got along really, really well. There was a running joke that it was surprising that it took them that long to work together. Because for those that don't know, Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer are 80s heartthrobs.
Less than zero.
Less than zero. And they had never really gotten along, talked to each other, done anything. And they really get along with each other, actually.
They didn't do a Corey
No,
thing.
no, that's like the saddest story in life, actually. Holy shit. Anyways, so looping back around to Predator, what are your other thoughts? Shane Black, it's a great little addendum to that piece.
I love Predator.
I love it.
I
could watch it.
I could watch it every day.
It is one of those great movies. I will definitely agree with you on that. So, I think that wraps up everything we need to say about The Predator.
Word.
This is celebrating, Predator Week is celebrating the movie coming up, directed by Shane Black. I hope that Olivia Munn and cast can carry it forward and do another classic. We'll see.